Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Stalker GAMMA. Today we're doing a reimagining of the old, or older, Getting Started guide that I put up on this channel many months ago, back early in 2022 when I started playing the GAMMA mod pack. So for anybody new, what is the GAMMA mod pack? So Grok's automated modular mod pack for Anomaly is a collection of mods built up around the Anomaly mod pack, which is a total conversion and conglomeration of the original Stalker titles into one big pack, and then Gamma is a load of mods added in on top of that. So this is a very old game engine, and they've added a lot to it. So it's not always 100% stable, it won't run like a modern game will. It's a lot of graphical updates and all sorts of fancy stuff, AI and everything else added in on top of the original game, and it's absolutely fantastic. But over the last year, since I started playing, or nearly a year, Grok has made the game a lot harder. So while a lot of my original Getting Started guide is still relevant, the very beginning of it I feel isn't. So I decided I would do a new version. And I've recently managed to get the new version all installed and working on my machine. So I had a little go. And it is a lot more difficult. I thought it was a bit more difficult when I last started again. It is now a lot more difficult, to the point where I would actually completely change my new game starting options. So let's run through that now. Obviously, this isn't going to be short, it's going to be a fairly long video. You can play at double speed, you can skip through bits of it if you wish, but this is aimed at new people who are coming to the game who have maybe never played Stalker or Gamma before, like I hadn't, and this is to get you started. So the settings won't be super difficult or anything like that. This is going to be a very getting you into the game gently kind of thing. So the first thing we're going to do is click New Game. Now, there's a few different areas here. We're going to start by looking at the character section. This is where you choose who you're going to be, as it were. There aren't a lot of options here, but there are certainly enough to get confused with. So first is the faction, and this is probably the most important thing for new players. Each of these factions plays completely differently in the sense that they all have different friends, enemies, and different starting missions and things like that. If you are brand new to Stalker and brand new to Gamma, I highly recommend sticking with the default, which are the Loners of Free Stalkers, because that's where the tutorial missions are. I have never played any of the other factions, but it is my understanding there aren't necessarily tutorial missions at their starting zones, and you have to speak to their relevant leaders to get their story missions and get on the main story path. But the game was originally built around being a loner or a free stalker, so that's what I've always gone with. And my advice would be for new players, stick with that. If you're more experienced, go with one of the others if you want. That's what they're there for. And you can unlock some other factions which aren't even listed here if you play the game through once. So, there you go. I'm going to leave it at that though. You can explore the other factions as you wish. With this faction, anything that is yellow here are neutral to you, and anything that is red are your enemy. So we are friendly with Duty, Clear Sky, Ecologist, and Freedom, and we are enemies with Monolith, Bandit, Mercenary, and Military. Straightforward enough. You can choose a portrait here. There's only a few to choose from, but you can select one. You can give your stalker a name, and it will be relevant because people will send you messages and they'll pop up in the bottom corner. So we can go Bandanner. This is how much money you have currently, 5,000 rubles. And then you can select your starting location. For the loners, you have three choices. You can either select random or choose one of the three. If you're new to the game, I would highly recommend Rookie Village, because that's where the tutorials are. And it's not obvious that they're tutorials because it doesn't tell you they're going to be tutorials, but that's where they are. This is a very throw you in the deep end kind of game, and that's why this video exists. Now, obviously these are next on the screen, but we're actually going to drop down to the options. We've got our settings here. We're a loner, we've chosen a portrait, a name, and we're choosing to start at the rookie village in Corden. Now we're going to have a look at the options. Story mode is enabled. We want story mode on. We want to do the story quest. Next one, which is selected here, is the accessible zone. So you can turn this on or off as you please. This is a single player game. Do not let anyone guilt you into feeling you should play it a particular way. Play it how you want. It is a modular mod pack for a reason. You can turn what you want on and off within reason. Don't break it. But, you know, you can adjust things a little bit. Now, the accessible zone is basically there are various teleportation points throughout the zone to take you to other parts of the zone. If you leave this enabled, everything is already visible. You can see all of the ways through and you don't have to unlock anything. If you untick it, you have to find those routes by other means, be that looking at other members or other people you kill's PDAs, be that looking at a map, be that speaking to someone and buying the information off them. So you can leave that on or off as you choose. I tend to turn it off, but the default is to have it on, so we'll leave it on because it just makes your life a little bit easier, and in the grand scheme of things it's not game breaking to have it on or off. Survival mode is basically zombies. I've never done that, so I always leave it off. And this one, Azazel mode. Death is not the end. You possess in your body when you die, taking over the form of another random stalker that really exists in the zone. If you have companions, you'll become one of them. I've never done that either. If I die, I die, and I go back to my previous save. Personal choice, perhaps. I've never really tried that. Warfare, I've never tried. This is about, you know, controlling a faction and other bits and pieces. My understanding is it doesn't work very well. It's a bit broken, so I've never tried that either. There is Iron Man mode, which you'll all know from other games. It's where you get a set life, 1 or up to 5 lives here, and once you lose those lives, you die and your game saves are deleted. Because that's just Iron Man mode. I never play with that because this game is very difficult and I die a lot. Over here you have campfire mode, which just relates to saving. I would just leave that off. And agony mode. Agony mode will prevent you from saving your progress if you're injured, bleeding, irradiated, in combat with enemies, or under circumstances of an emission or a psi storm. I really, again, wouldn't put that on agony mode. I'd just leave that off. So that's basically all those settings there. Probably the more important settings are your gameplay difficulty and your progression difficulty. So gameplay difficulty is probably what it says on the tin, really. It affects the aspects related to the player, such as your protection against damage sources, stamina loss, carry weight, in addition to other aspects such as water and sleep deprivation, etc., etc. My personal feeling is I generally go with medium. But you can go easy, you can go hard if you want to make life really hard for yourself. I'm happy to go medium. Bear in mind that this is a very challenging mod pack. It is made to be difficult. It is made to make you suffer. And it made you suffer and was difficult before. And in the last year, he's made it a lot more difficult. You have been warned. So, gameplay difficulty, your choice. I'm going to go with medium. Then you get progression difficulty. Now, previously, I used to play on Survivalist. So progression difficulty has a big impact on the economy, which affects a player's progression through their journey in the zone. Aspects affected by this are range of sell to buy prices with traders, repair upgrade prices with mechanics, rarity of loot, money, and goodwill earned by completing tasks and more. Now you can actually, with both gameplay difficulty and progression difficulty, and each of these aspects, control it within the game's options. So you're not locked. Now, I've always played as survivalist previously. I feel that Grok has now made the game too hard for that to be enjoyable for someone just starting out. Like, when I first started, I did Survivalist and I was happy. But the game is so much harder than it was then in terms of just getting around the first few areas. There used to be an easy way to get some basic armor. When I last started again, it was much more difficult, and I died a lot, as you can see in my playthroughs, trying to get that armor. Since he's updated it with the anniversary edition just before Christmas, it is even harder still, because he's made all of the water extremely radioactive in the area that you could get that. So you can no longer even run into the water. As a result, I would now put this on Tourist if it is your first game. If you want a challenge, it's fine, you can put it higher, but honestly, I'd advise Tourist, and the reason for that is so you can take the armor and other stuff. As you will notice, when I change from Tourist to Scavenger and then to Survivalist, the amount of points you're allowed goes down. So that's the amount of extra items you can take. Scavenger and Tourist, you get more, and in Tourist you actually get access to more items. You get another gun here. There is a s.t.a.l.k.e.r normal sized shotgun, double barrel. Whereas in the other ones you only get the short barrel version. Previously, I would always start on Survivalist. I'm now going to advise, if you're new, start on Tourist. Get your 1700 points, and the first thing you should do is go down here and grab this armor. This is a Sunrise Stalker suit. The reason for this is because it is now so hard to get the other equivalent armor at the start from that quest. You probably need this armor to be able to do that mission without getting slaughtered. I died a lot doing that mission, and I think I die a lot, if not more than a lot, doing it now. So if you're new to the game, I strongly recommend taking that armor and sending yourself to Tourist, just for the extra points. And then if you want to, go and change that once you're in the game. But that would be my honest advice now. Not everyone will agree with that, and I understand that, but, you know, for me, the game should be difficult, but still fun. And I think he's made it a bit too difficult at the start, because you can't just pick up a piece of armor off someone. Everything you pick up will be damaged and you have to repair it, and you cannot repair it at the start of the game. It's going to be a while before you can start repairing these items and getting the items you need to do the repairs. So my advice is Tourist, pick up the armor. Now, in terms of guns, this is to some extent a personal choice, but there's some I definitely avoid. So early game, there are going to be some weapons that you will get lots of ammo for. So a good choice for getting lots of ammo is anything that is 9mm. So 9x19 is 9mm pistol ammo. But it's also used in this PP19, which is an SMG. So early game, it's not a bad weapon to have, and it has the three main ammo types. Full metal jacket, it hurts people basically, so other stalkers, enemies. HP is hollow point, very good against mutants because they're good against flesh and obviously animals. And then armor piercing, which are good against people wearing armor. Now, they're 9mm rounds, they're not the best rounds, so they're going to help you early game but not be so good late game, so that is an option. Then you've got the TOS 106. This is a shotgun. They're not bad, but the buckshot that they have, the 20x70, there isn't a lot of that in the game. Most people use the other type of shotgun shells, so when you kill someone and take the shells off them, you won't get many of these, so I'd advise against that one. If you're going to take a shotgun, I would recommend taking the TOS 34 sawn off, or the full-size one. And that's 650 points, and this one down here is 400. There's not a huge amount of difference between them. The damage is the same. The only difference is the accuracy and handling. And really, I think that if you're going to take one, I would take the sawn off. Personal choice perhaps, but it's cheaper, and I don't really think it's worth spending the extra on that because it does the same damage. And you're mostly going to be using it close range. This again has 3 types of ammo, and this is the ammo that you're going to find pretty easily. At 12x76, most people will have weapons that use it. So, buckshot, good against flesh, slugs, good against people, and armor-piercing slugs, good against people with armor. Very straightforward. Other weapons here, you've got the PSH-41. This is a very high fire rate weapon, and a weapon you're not going to find a lot of ammo for early game. If you're on Tourist, I'm not sure of the prices of bullets. I need to have a look, and we'll have a look when we get in the game. But maybe that makes it cheaper and worthwhile doing that. I personally wouldn't go for that myself because my experience is that you don't get many of those bullets. The SKS, you're probably going to see more bullets for that, and it is a very good starting weapon. It is very good against people. And for things like the quest to get that armor that I was talking about, this would be very beneficial. However, it's a single shot rifle really, it's bolt action. If you pick up a damaged one, their stats change in the sense that they can jam more often and things like that, but generally they still work. So you could actually just pick up a broken one of those and use it without worrying about having to repair it. So I wouldn't consider that a very high priority to pick up. It's also 925 points. So I wouldn't get that. As I said, my choice would be of the 2 TOS, the sawn off one. There is, of course, the Thompson M1A1. I would strongly advise against this. .45 ammo isn't that common at the start. It is very good ammo, but it's not that common, and it will be really expensive. And then you've got another SMG down here, which is the OTS-02 K.e.r. That's 9mm again, but 9x18 this time. You'll find plenty of bullets for that, so if you fancy that, you can use it. My advice is to go with the shotgun for 400 points. Now, you could at this stage also take a pistol. Nothing stopping you. We've got a nice shotgun there. You could be thinking about taking something that is 9mm, because you're going to find plenty of those. And options here are actually just these 2, which are 9x18. So you're looking for 9x18mm bullets. Both are good options, but again, you will pick up pistols, which are damaged. The only thing with pistols is, when they jam, it's more annoying because usually you want to get 7 or 8 shots out of them, or however many are in the chamber. So, or your magazine size. So that has a mag size of 20, for example. So if you jam after 2 shots, it's going to be pretty annoying. That has 8. So of the 2, that's actually a pretty good one because of its huge magazine size. But it's a lot more expensive in terms of points. Otherwise, you've got this one, which is a Russian contract Colt, which takes the .45, but again, you'll start with some ammo for it, which you could hang on to and utilize that against enemy AI you meet, and you might find some more ammo. And then there's this one, which uses the 7.62 × 25. I mean, we have 800 points to play with. After we've taken the armor and the gun, since we're, having a little bit extra. So I'd actually consider taking a pistol here. My advice would either be go with probably the cheaper one, so you have more points to spend on other stuff. But then, I think you could even take the Russian contract Colt. And if you start with a few bullets for it, that'll serve you very well against enemy AI stalkers, especially on some of the harder missions. But it's going to be a lot easier to get ammo for these 2. So you know what, I'd take the cheap gun, 175 points, and we'll find plenty of 9x18 ammo. So what else do you want in this list? This here is a leadline container. It is used for putting artifacts in which would otherwise irradiate you. If you're starting as the loner and starting in Rookie Village and do the tutorials, you will get given one of these for free. So you don't need to waste 100 points on it here. If you do the starting tutorial quests in the Rookie Village, you will be given a sleeping bag. You do not need to take one here. If you're one of the other factions, I have no idea. You might want to take these things. The truth is, a sleeping bag isn't necessarily needed. There's plenty of places to sleep in bases, and most of the time early game you're going to be around the bases a lot. I would strongly recommend taking the respirator. This is a face mask that reduces the external radiation you will take. Radiation can be extremely damaging, and anything that boosts your resistance is good. Other items here that are worth taking. Grab all of these. These are first aid kits. They have 2 uses each. Please do check out my healing guide for a better explanation of what first aid and post healing are, because you have these items here which are first aid, and then you have things like the Yadulin here, which is post heals. Please check out my guide on healing for that, because I go into a lot more detail and explain the difference. But basically, to heal yourself properly, you need to first aid heal, and then before that runs out, use something that will post heal as well. Incidentally, take both those Yadulin. Other than that, I'd also grab at least one of the ibuprofen, which will take us to 125 points. I wouldn't grab the other one at the moment. We will rely on getting more of those in-game. I would take both of the tourniquets. Tourniquets are very good because they, like bandages, which you already have up here, stop bleeding. And they also fully first aid heal your arms and legs. And they're even better at stopping bleeding. As you might imagine, a tourniquet is designed for that. So we've got 25 points left, which isn't a lot left, but we've spent a lot because we've got 2 guns. Items we still have access to, 35 unfortunately for some more water, which would have been one of the things I'd consider, but actually water isn't too expensive. A field cooking kit could be worth it actually for 25 points. I think of the other items here, most of the healing or other items you'll find here, you will find in-game fairly quickly on enemy bodies and stuff. If you're not going to turn on unlimited bolts, it could be worth taking a pack of bolts. But I will show you how to turn on unlimited bolts when we get in the game. It's a personal choice. It's a single-player game. If you want unlimited bolts, and I'm going to explain why you need them, then we'll show you how to turn that on. If you would rather play the original way, which is that you have a certain amount of bolts and you have to go and pick them up after you use them, if you can find them, then that is an option as well. So you might want to take those. I'd personally recommend grabbing that, I think. Because otherwise here, everything else you're going to find during the game in abundance. A headlamp is too expensive here, in my opinion. You're better off just finding one and repairing one or building one in-game later. Okay, we've spent all our points. Let's have a quick look through. We've got a backpack. Basic stuff, very important. Gives you 21 kilograms. It's a default thing. A knife. Very useful for smashing things, stabbing things, and also for chopping up bodies. So, animals, mutants in the zone, you will want to chop those up. Unsuitable for chopping thick-skinned mutants, you'll get a better knife from a vendor as you go through the game. The bandages we've already discussed. Batteries are used for powering things like your PDA, which we'll talk about once we get in the game. You've got matches here, which you will use for lighting fires, which you can heal at, cook at, and you can save at. Then you have a bolt, which we're going to have unlimited, so having one to start with is important. A wallet, an RF receiver, which you will potentially use once or twice during the game for story quests, or you can use it for lots of quests and side things if you want, but you only really need to use it for a couple of main quests. There's the echo detector, which is what will help you detect the artifacts, which are a part of the game. There is the PDA, which is the center of your world, and we'll talk about that in the game. Then we have purified water, which you can't make in the game. You have to buy it or find it. So this is going to be a staple you're going to buy a lot. Thankfully, it's not too expensive. Grooming kits and Swiss Army knives are used in construction, and they're used to help repair. They are not a proper grooming kit, and they're not a proper Swiss Army knife as you would normally know them. You've also got some beef in a can there. You've got some alcohol, which reduces your radiation level. Radiation level is reduced by alcohol and smoking in the game, and also things like the first aid kit. That's just a faction patch, which is your faction, the radiation patch for loners. And then you've got a quick release system, which I've never actually used, but you can use that to quickly drop your bag and run away. And then we've got the bits that we've bought. So we've got 4 of the first aid kits. We've got the armor. We've got our respirator mask. We've got a pistol, a shotgun, a couple more healing bits, and the field cooking kit. And that will allow us to cook mutant parts and things. Or mutant meat, animal meat. Right, let's get into the game. So, welcome to the game itself. We are in the rookie village in a building. For anyone who's wondering, the field of view setting that I have is 85. The default is 80. This is a very old game. I always find that no matter what I set, the field of view looks a bit odd. This is just the most comfortable I find it, but it does look odd when you're in these little buildings. But that's as good as it gets. You can fiddle around with it if you want, but this is my preferred setting. But do as you please, obviously. You'll notice we've got some messages popping up in the bottom corner there. That's where all the chat happens. It's very foggy here at the moment. We're not going to worry about that. But we are going to have a look at our inventory. So let's pop open our inventory. You'll see that our weapons have been pre-equipped. We've got our pistol there, which we just have some full metal jacket for, but we've got a good amount there, 48. That's pretty reasonable. We'll be mainly using that for longer range targets and mainly against people. And then we've got the TOS 34 custom sawn-off shotgun, which we have some buckshot for. Buckshot is good against animals, where slugs are better against people. We've got our armor here. We can drag and drop that on the body, or you can double click to add it. So there we go, backpack, double click, and it will put it in the backpack slot. And double click to put the respirator there. You can also right click to remove, or right click to wear the helmet. Other items that we want to equip, PDA, and the echo detector. And then everything else is just in our inventory. The ammo doesn't have to be loaded here. It just stays in your inventory, and then you can load it through a different menu. Up here, you've got vision options. Now, when it comes to the vision options, you can have binoculars in there and things like that. You can also drop your pistol in there. So, there you go. Say you have 2 main weapons, so a shotgun and a rifle. Then you can have your pistol up there in the vision slot. It doesn't really matter, it's up to you. And then headgear is stuff like a headlamp or night vision goggles and things like that. G4 is reserved for grenades. That is where your bolt sits. You've got your melee option there, which in this case is our knife. Down here you have your F1 to F4 keys. These are quick slots. Currently we have our first aid kit, our bandages, and then we could stick the quick slot or the quick drop there, the quick release system at the end, and that would drop our backpack if we were trying to escape from something, and then we could pick it all up later. That's the RF receiver. We're not going to worry about that at the moment. These items here are the big boxes with a padlock in. These are your belt slots or armor belt slots. As you progress through the game, you will find and repair better armor, and that armor will have slots, and you can put things in those slots to make the armor even better, give you other bonuses. You can put artifacts in them sometimes, which will make, you know, a difference to your stats or protection, etc, etc, etc. Down here at the bottom are all of your basic stats, shall we say. So that's your health bar, which is currently full. Great. This is your radiation resistance, so the higher this bar is, the better. And this is your chemical resistance, your electrical resistance, flame resistance or burn resistance, your psych resistance, which currently is very low, your rupture resistance, which is good when you're talking about enemy mutants and things that have claws to rip through you. And then this is your ballistic resistance. Ballistic resistance and BR classes of bullets and all of this are a little bit involved. If I hover over this bullet, you will see that this has a nominal stopping power of damage 18 and a BR class of 1 or 15 AP power. If we then go to our armor, you will notice that the previous bars have turned into numbers, which is what we want really. And you'll notice that we have a BR class of 27. So this armor will stop bullets up to 27, which their BR class or armor penetration class of up to 27. If you get repeatedly shot with a bullet that is less than that, your armor will eventually break and you will start taking damage. Ballistic resistance is how much it reduces from the damage. So this bullet does 18 damage, technically speaking. If you look at the weapon, then damage is 17. But in essence, say I had a bullet that did 100 damage. If you shoot me with it and I'm wearing this armor, then you will do me 91 damage, which is quite a lot of damage to be fair, as long as the BR class is above 27. That's how I understand it. That's what we'll stick with. So that's ballistic resistance. Just something to bear in mind. Down here at the bottom you have some smaller bars. This is how hungry you are, how thirsty you are, and how sleepy you are. If the bar is full, you are not hungry, thirsty, or sleepy. If the bar is going black and these bars are vanishing, then you are becoming hungry, thirsty, and sleepy. Pretty straightforward. You'll also get warnings about all of those down here in the bottom corner next to this little symbol, or this little part of the hood. One thing I'd like to mention before we go any further is another part of the hood you can enable is the little mini map in the top corner here. That is done with the / button on your keyboard, the button next to right shift. So the right shift key, the button next to that on my keyboard would be a / if it was an English keyboard, and therefore you would get this up. You can hear a bit of shooting in the distance there, we're not going to worry about that. This doesn't really do much for you. You can have it on and off as you please. Originally, I played with it off, but I ended up just leaving it on because all it really does is give me an arrow to my currently selected mission. It doesn't really offer me anything other than that. Oh, it also helps me find stashes that I'm looking for rather than keep having to bring out my PDA, and it allows me to see bodies once you upgrade the PDA. Otherwise, it doesn't really do anything too fancy. Next thing I want to do is hit escape, and I'm going to go to settings, and then I want to go down to gameplay, and then I want to go to progression difficulty. And if you scroll down here, you'll see limited amount of bolts is currently enabled. I'm going to disable that so I have unlimited bolts. It is a preference. I play like this because my opinion is there are many things I could throw into the anomalies, not just bolts. So I prefer to have it off and not worry about it. If you want to have it enabled and only have a limited amount of bolts, that is absolutely fine. But it's completely up to you. This is a single player game. Play it how you want to play it. So I'm going to hit apply on that and return the game. Okay. So, what other things are there to mention here? So, we should probably have a look at the PDA first and foremost. So if I hit Tab for me, or by default capital lock. Tab in the new version opens your inventory, and capital lock brings up your PDA. I've actually changed that because I'm used to using tab for the PDA. And currently, caps lock does nothing on mine. But either way, you want to bring up the PDA. This is the map. You can zoom out and have a look at the entire zone, and you'll notice because I left the see all of the routes, they're all visible to me. I have access to them all. I can go anywhere I want. I have access to everything already. Now, if you disable that, you'll unlock stuff as you go through the story, etc, etc. It's completely up to you. If I had the option, I would always opt to turn it off and, you know, unlock things as part of the story and as part of just general exploration and finding these routes. But I left it on just so I could demonstrate that that is an option. You have a task list here. We don't have any tasks at the moment, but they would be listed here, and then there'd be little buttons next to some of them that you could click on to highlight on the map where you have to go for those. Down here, if you're ever confused, there is a little key, so you can see all the symbols. Up here, you can go to statistics. This is your information about the game, how long you've been in the game, mutants killed, achievements, areas visited, unlocked articles. There's a list of all the stalkers in the zone up to 100. We're currently 447. We're a rookie. We're no one important. That's fair enough. Relations is your relations with everybody else. Goodwill is you. At the start of the game, everything is minimal. So you are basically a free stalker though. So bear in mind that you are neutral to all of these people and you are enemies to all of these. If we hit display values, you'll see that there are just zeros all the way across the top. That's because you haven't done anything in the game yet. You have a slight bonus, obviously, to free stalkers, because technically you are a free stalker and have 300, and 0 to everyone else, and minus 2,000 to these guys. This is your default position as a free stalker. If you start as one of the other factions, then that would obviously be relevant. You'd be minus or positive to whoever. In terms of goodwill, this will go up gradually as you do missions for each of the factions, or indeed down as you kill the enemy ones. Contacts are important characters. Sidorevich is the boss here of the loners. We'll go and see him shortly. Then we have the guide. This is probably one of the most important places in the PDA. If you are ever stuck, ever confused, ever wondering what something is, what something does, have a look here first. If that fails, have a look on YouTube. Do check out my channel. I have lots of guides for a lot of the stuff that's covered in here. But there's lots of things here. Notes, achievements. The achievements are some spoilers here as well, because it gives you all the achievements you can get in the game. Some you don't get till the end of the game after you complete the storylines and stuff. Notes will be random bits and pieces, not just your status and stats, but other stuff. Factions is the factions you've met. You'll unlock more as you meet more. Features, things in the game. Items, locations, options, encyclopedia add-ons. The most important thing, the Gamma manual. You're playing the Gamma mod pack. Introduction, artifacts and bits and pieces about them. Ballistics, there's a little bit more information about what I was talking about earlier. It's a little bit complicated, but you'll get there eventually. Cooking, a little bit of information here. I have a guide on that if you're wondering. There is a video guide for that. Crafting, I have a guide for that. It's a little bit dated. I will probably look at doing an updated one at some point when I get a chance. Disguises, I've got a guide on that that covers the basics. It doesn't cover every detail, but it covers the basics. Energy management, it's about food and all of that stuff. Healing and medicines, I've got a guide on that. Inventory, well, inventory is inventory. Lore, money, protection plates and stuff like that. Upgrade kits. The list goes on. I'm not going to go through it all now. You got the radio if you want music on all the time. You can even have your own tracks in there. I'm not sure how to set that up. And then you've got your messages at the end. So if you've had messages pop up and you wonder what it said, you can go and have another look. Let's go and chat to Sidorevich. And obviously, currently we're set to an easier setting, aren't we? We're on sort of the easy mode, as it were, in terms of costs and rewards and stuff like that. If we actually just hit escape. So in the settings menu, do you remember we went before to gameplay and progression difficulty? So we've obviously got it set to pretty easy at the moment. Obviously we've disabled that, but in terms of everything else, this is all sort of made a bit easy for us. because of our preset. You can change it up here. So we've got tourist selected, but you can change it to scavenger, and you'll see everything shifts around, or survivalists, which makes everything even more difficult. But we currently got it on tourist, and that's what it is there. So if you need to change that, you decide it's too easy, too hard, or whatever, you can go up there and change it. No stress. Gameplay difficulty exactly the same, easy, medium, hard. Up at the top there, you can change it as you see fit. You can also change all the individual sliders. You can even put on stuff like radioactive air during the daytime. That doesn't sound very pleasant, does it? I'm not going to change anything there, so I'm going to hit cancel for the moment and return the game. We're going to go down and see Sidrovich. This is his bunker. A little word on saving. If you're in an allied base or down in the bunker here, you can hit F5 and you can quick save, which is very nice. You can also do that next to campfires. And if you're not at a campfire, you can hold Shift and F5 and use what is called a daddy save. Now, the daddy saves are a token, so if I come back up the stairs and hit Shift F5, it's saving in here because I'm in the bunker still. If I come back up and hit Shift F5, there you go. I will be granted a daddy token in 234 seconds. That's because I've just saved, and every time you save, it resets that. But a daddy save can be done anywhere in the wilderness. Let's open this door. And here we go. This is Sidrovich. He's the boss. He's the guy who will give you most of your missions as a free stalker or a loner. He's also a bit of a dick and a swindler, and he is interested in making money and not about you or your safety. So bear that in mind. We can have a chat to him. I'll let you read through everything yourself, but we want to talk to him about promises of adventure. He will continue talking to you. We're going to say, alright, how do I get rich? And also, wait, what is this commotion about s.t.a.l.k.e.r? And then, sounds exciting, alrighty, I'll track him down. Living Legend, Old Friend, or Living Legend specifically, is the main story quest. You definitely want to pick that up from this guy. The other one is worth picking up as well, just because, you know, it's another quest that's going to progress you through the zone. He also has some other options, so you can buy stuff from him and have a look at that. Now, this is going to be interesting for me because I've never played on an easier difficulty. The prices are loads cheaper here. So the price of a first aid kit in Survivalist is 3,750. And the price of this is like 6,000 ibuprofen. That's 4,000 here, and that's 2,250. That is so much cheaper. How much is water? So water is normally 980 from this guy, and here it's 592. So yeah, it makes a huge difference to the pricing of equipment. So another example is bullets here are a lot cheaper. So these bullets usually cost 3,000. And these buckshot shells are the same price as they would be from a specialist in buckshot shells in another zone. So yeah, this makes obviously everything a little bit easier. You'll get more money, you'll spend less, etc., etc., etc. So that's something interesting for me as well. Other things you can do here is you can ask for information on stashes, which are locations that will be marked on the map, and you can go and loot them and find different items in there. You will have to pay him for that information. Other people will have the same as you go through the zone. Is there any work you want done? Are just other quests that he may have, and you can click have anything else to go through them and choose any ones you want. What can you tell me about business around here? Just more information. You have connections, right? Can you help me settle something with some people? If you've upset someone or you want to improve your standing, he will help you do that for a cost. You can ask him for a game of blackjack. I've never actually done that. I've heard you can exchange armors for other factions' ones for one of our faction. For certain armors, not every armor in the game, whichever faction you're part of will have a leader like this who you can go to and exchange armor. So I could bring him some armor from a bandit and ask him to exchange it for loner armor. He will exchange it for one of equivalent quality and damage. So if you bring him a really badly damaged piece of armor, he will give you a really badly damaged piece of armor. Just bear that in mind. But he will give you something that is equivalent to the one that you have given him, within reason. Sometimes they are out of stock, shall we say. And that's everything for him. So we've got a couple of new missions, which is fine. We can open up our area map and we can have a look. So we've got this one here. Living Legend, Old Friend. s.t.a.l.k.e.r.'s Old Companion. So we can go and visit that person there at some point. And then we've got this one, Meet with Magnum. So Magnum in Rostock is my next destination. So plenty of quests to be going on with. But what we actually want to do is also do quests in this area. So up here we have Wolf. Wolf is one of the standard NPCs and he has a lovely big machine gun. We can ask him about quests. Now the nice thing about the quests Wolf gives are generally he will have one which is to hunt mutants in the area, which is always good. And he will also have ones called Tourist Safari. If you do a Tourist Safari one, if we click anything else, there we go, Tourist Safari. There are crazy people who want to come to this irradiated zone where all hell has broken loose to have basically a tourist safari and kill or shoot at some enemies. These can be very handy because it means you will get 2 tourists who are equipped with weapons and have unlimited ammo to come with you and kill whatever mutant they want to kill and potentially the other quests you have. I'm not going to do that at the moment. I'm just going to bypass him, but just to point out he is there and the tourists come in very handy. A few other important people that are wandering around this area. So one person to look out for, if we can catch up, I believe this is Hip. So Hip will have quests for you. I'd like to ask you some questions. Make sure you read everything Hip says. Hip doesn't always give you a clear mission and a clear outline, and I don't know why, but for this first one she does, and I would just go, I'll do it. So she wants you to find a TOS 194 and ammunition. We'll just have that forever, and at some point we can come and hand it in. But she will become a companion to you for part of her quest line if you keep doing them. But when you hand them in, make sure you read what she wants, because she doesn't always tell you. And it doesn't always go in the task list. So just something to bear in mind. We're at this campfire. We can hit F5. So you can save. If you stand here long enough, you can also heal your main health pool. That's the guy shape in the bottom left-hand corner there. For a full explanation of all those symbols and icons and everything else in that bottom corner, please go check out my healing guide. That will explain it all in a lot more detail. Or if you don't need a lot of detail, check out the guide on the PDA. So this is Fanatic. He's our tutorial guy. Nowhere really explains to you that he is, but he is. So, hey, I don't think I've seen you around here before. You seem pretty new too. I'm deputy leader of the village along with Wolf, who we met a little bit earlier. If you'd like, I can teach you some things about zone survival. Make sure you won't die to the first mutant or anomaly you encounter. You know, I could actually use a little help. Do the missions, he gives you some stuff. So, he'll give you a quest to do, and the first thing he gives you is ammo, which is great. So he'll give you some full metal jacket rounds, and he gives you some buckshot. So, buckshot, it says it's the wrong type, but he gives you the right type, so don't worry. So we can click see you later, and he will now follow us, and we get a new article about him. If we open up our PDA, we can see that it is now highlighted over there. And if you look in the top corner at my minimap, you'll see there is a big red arrow now pointing in that direction. So we will switch to our shotgun, and we're going to leg it over there. Things to note immediately, this flashing electricity here is an anomaly. Don't run into it, it will hurt a lot, especially at this stage of the game. When you're doing these missions, there is no guarantee that you won't be attacked by something else. So there are other hostiles in the zone. This mission's hostiles have been spawned specifically for the mission, but it doesn't mean that other stuff won't spawn around and attack you. So you may get jumped when you're on the way to this mission, or during the mission. Just keep that in mind. Now he should help us fight. There we go. So it took a couple of shots to take it down from that range, including some fire from him. So we can try and... You can try and cut the body up by going up to it and pressing F. Unfortunately, it didn't have any items for us. But you can cut Boars up and the other mutants, and they will sometimes give you meat and body parts. Body parts you can sell, or they're sometimes wanted by other people for quests. And the meat you can cook. So the meat you can cook using the campfire, and in our inventory we have this lovely cooking off-field cooking kit. If you'd like more detail on that, please check out my cooking guide, which is on the channel as well. I'll keep plugging these videos. So let's talk to him. That was crazy. What now? So now he's given us a mission to go to the anomalous area. He says, well done. See if your knife's strong enough to cut a few parts of it. Unfortunately, there weren't any parts, but never mind. So now we're going to head back over here. If we open the PDA again, you'll notice there is now a little icon over here. So we're going to head to that. And we also have the arrow on the map there in the top corner. Now, whatever you do when you're doing these missions, don't shoot him. If you shoot him, it'll annoy everybody in the village. So do be careful when you're shooting. If you shoot him, because he's a member of that village and a member of the free stalkers and the loners, they will not like you very much and will be very annoyed and start shooting you. So just bear that in mind. So we're going to head down here. If we enter this circle, it will go to the next part of the quest. Here we go. He will eventually run over to us. We'll just wait for him. Pull our gun away. We're not going to need that for a little while, hopefully. So we're going to chat to him. So here we are. What do we do now? So this is a pit full of gravitational anomalies. There is an artifact over there. That's just a loaf of anomalous bread. You can ignore it. So there's a little trick in there, and he's warning us about it. So this is why it's worth reading what he says. But also in this pit is a jellyfish. And jellyfishes, along with every artifact in the game, have both positive and negative qualities. It is quite fortunate that one is here. Now let's talk about equipment you should have for extracting an artifact or finding an artifact. So it looks like you already have an echo detector. All detectors, while active, register the presence of artifacts and measure the distance to the nearest one. They're a basic requirement for finding any artifact that isn't just junk. When you hear it beeping, then you know an artifact must be nearby. The more frequent the beeps, the closer the artifact. Unfortunately, this is an old model and it can't detect all types of artifacts. But it should be fine for your attempt today. Better models have better detection ranges and abilities. Gradually through the game you will find better quality ones on certain vendors, but you can also build them and upgrade this one yourself. So don't stress about it at the minute, that's for much later in the game. Not bad. So now he's going to give us a lead-lined metal container, which I mentioned when we were creating our character. These are basically, without reading all of this, lead-lined metal containers are for you to put artifacts in that would otherwise give you radiation poisoning, because a lot of them give you gradual radiation every second. You will also find that later in the game you will get artifact application modules which fit into the belt slots I was talking about before. So good to know. This container sure is heavy. What's next? He's going to give us some vodka. Vodka and cigarettes in this game reduce your radiation level. Apparently this comes from some old tale that was told in the Eastern Bloc, Russia, Soviet Union, whatever you want to call it, about exactly that alcohol would reduce radiation levels in the event of a nuclear disaster. Obviously it's nonsense, but if it's for the game. Anything else? He gives us some bolts. We've turned on unlimited. If you haven't, then be grateful. He's giving you some more. And that's it. That's the part of the quest we need to do. So we'll say see you later. And we're going to hit 6 on the keyboard. And we'll bring out our detector. It's not beeping at the moment. And I'm going to hit 5. And that gives me my lovely bolts. And if I throw a bolt, there you go. So that's an anomaly. And that's an anomaly, and that's where they are, and it's not safe to walk into them. If I throw it down the middle here, then it's safe to walk down this way. There are other ways into this area to pick up the artifact, I'm told. I've never gone in any other way. I've always gone in this way. So I'm going to show you this way because I know it off by heart. So the first thing is we can throw this in front of us to show us where to go. And we're going to hear it starting to beep now. Now he warned us in here there was some bread. That is the anomalous bread. Go past it. Keep going this way. You'll notice that my radiation is going up. We're going to come round here and double back on ourselves through this tree. And there it is. Right there. So we got our jellyfish. And now we're going to go back the way we came. Pretty fast. We're going to run. Try to avoid running into any anomalies. Make sure you go the same way. And we're out. And we're going to go into our inventory and immediately drop that into our container. And then we go, we've updated the mission. And then what we should also do is drink some vodka. Double click on it. Right click to use it. And you'll notice we now have two symbols. A radiation flashing symbol, which means we've taken radiation or have radiation on our bodies. And we have one that is sort of solid and see-through. And that one is that we are reducing our radiation level. We're also going a bit wibbly-wobbly on the screen because we're drunk. So let's switch back to our gun. And let's follow him back to the base. Or is he hanging here? I think he's hanging here. Let's have a chat to him. I got the artifact. Well, I can see you'll be an experienced stalker one day. Let's head back to the village. We'll continue your training there. There we go. So now we'll go back to the village. So we didn't take too much damage there. We took a little bit of damage. You can just see the tip top of the head has gone red. And that is because we were irradiated. So you will take damage when you're irradiated. You'll take damage when you're thirsty. You will take damage when you're bleeding, etc., etc., etc. I think he's actually still following us. I was expecting him to just walk off on his own, but he's actually still following us. Now, you'll notice when I zoom in with my gun and look down the iron sights, I don't have a blurry screen. So, for some reason, when they updated this... Oh, press B when you come into the camp. It puts your gun away. So, gun out, gun away. They get upset if you point guns at them, especially when you're... If you're very high sort of friendship with them and have a very high relationship standing, then they don't get too upset. But otherwise, they will always point guns at you. They get a little bit annoyed. I don't think they'll ever shoot you, but it's just, you know, a warning. So, let's pop in here, and then I'll tell you about the zooming in thing. So, if you do this on your game, it's probably gone blurry. If you hit escape and go to mod configuration menu, there are loads of things in this list. Don't go messing around with it too much, you'll break stuff. But if you go down, you'll find one called SSS settings. And then weapon depth of field. If you would like the blurriness around the gun to go away when you zoom in, which I do because it made me feel very weird, you can set the blur intensity to 0 and this disables it. And the same here, you can disable it. So that's off and you'll never have to worry about it. There's also depth of field when using other items and looting and everything else. I also unticked all of those and turned them off. It was a little bit buggy. I had to sort of do them one by one, but I did manage to turn them all off. But that gets rid of the blurry screen when you don't want the blurry screen. If you don't mind it, leave it on. So, back to Fanatic. Hi, Fanatic. That shoe was something. There we go. He's given us a quick release system. We already had one of those. You seem to know the basics now, but I've got an extra challenge for you. What is this challenge? He wants us to find a stash that is hidden somewhere in the village. So it says, see you later. And put our gun away. Now, if you want, at this point, you can now go and find the stash. It could be in any one of these buildings in the village, anywhere. I'm going to show you exactly where it is. So, this is spoilers, obviously. It's in this building. It's up this ladder. And it's over there. So, we crouch down and we go over here. So, stashes can be bags, boxes. Pretty much anything in the game can be a stash. Even a pipe. So you will find them marked on the map when you'll get them as mission rewards and stuff. So we'll open this and ooh, there's a ball in there. So sometimes you will get a random item given to you when you open this box. Sometimes there'll be a ball there, sometimes there won't. It's random. Quite often it's empty. But there we go, we've done that now. So we can go back to him and hand it in. We'll actually say to him, it was empty. What do you want? Found it, it was empty though. There we go, sad times. Training day, mission complete, speak to Fanatic. And that's it, he's given us everything. He says there's nothing more he can teach us. I don't believe that for a minute, but that's it. You can ask him if there's any other jobs. Can kill some enemies, good one to do, I'll do that. And any other work you want done? Oh, a battery artifact. Okay, so artifacts you will find throughout the game. Battery artifacts you might not find for a very long time. But grab it. You can read the story about it if you want, but pick it up. It'll stay in your task list forever. And one day, at the end of the game, you will discover that you find a battery artifact and it'll say, mission completed. Find a battery artifact for Fanatic. And then you can go and hand it into him. Down at the bottom, you'll see that the bottle icon has appeared. If we go to the inventory, you will see that I am now more thirsty than I was, a little bit more hungry than I was, so I should have something to drink. So let's have a bit of water. Sorted. So, what do you do here? That's it. That's the tutorial done. You do missions. You do missions to kill mutants. You do missions by going up to people like Hip and getting them. You can walk up to anyone in this whole village and anyone in the world who is friendly and just go, speak, is there any work you want done? This guy wants a couple of fracture hands, so that's a mutant part. So some people want mutant parts. We don't have that at the moment, so I'm not going to take it. A word of warning about taking missions. If you take a mission off him, and he dies before you hand it in, you fail the mission and lose reputation. It's quite annoying. You don't lose a lot of reputation, but you do lose reputation through no fault of your own. So, just something to bear in mind when you're thinking about picking up loads of missions. Can be beneficial to have lots of missions, can also be detrimental. So yeah, you can now pick up those missions off Wolf. You can go downstairs and have a chat to Sidrovich and see what other missions he'll give you. And then you explore, you play, you kill stuff, you go and do the story quests, which are the yellow ones. Eventually, as you do quests, on the map you will get stashes, which are these icons here. They're a circle with 3 triangles in them. If they are white, they're just basic ones. And if they are green, they are guaranteed to have repair kits of some description or toolkits of some description in them. Now, crafting is a completely different kettle of fish, which I'm not going to go into in this video. I have a video on crafting, a guide to crafting, which goes into a lot of detail. And even that doesn't really cover everything. And I'm thinking I will eventually do an updated one, but it gives you a good overview of everything. So, that's the start of this game. I hope that was helpful for everyone. What I did in the previous version was I had a spoiler warning at this point, and then I told you all about the swamps, which are down here. When I first started playing the game, the swamps was a much easier area. The missions there were pretty easy to start with. You could get some pretty decent armor that's a little bit better than the stuff we chose at the start. From a quest here that wasn't too difficult. It was easy enough to do it with your shotgun. That is no longer the case. He has made it very, very difficult. All the water in swamps is now extremely radioactive, so you can no longer run through it. You can't stand in it to avoid enemies, because the enemies can't stand in it. The AI doesn't understand the water in this part of the map. It's not to say that's the same for every part of the map, as a word of warning. But there was lots of stuff you could do here. It's a lot more difficult now. So I wouldn't go running off there. I'd stay here in Cordon for a bit and do some quests here. But, you know, you can go over there into this area, and there's other places to explore. And obviously there's the main story quest there. There's a main story quest up here once you get up that far. But gradually you'll progress up the map to the top. Up to the nuclear power plant. Don't rush up there. You might get random quests of Sidrovich or someone else to go and hand something in all the way up here. Don't rush to do it. The higher you go, the more difficult it is. And it's actually the case that one of the reasons that you don't by default unlock some of these paths is because if you go too far up the map, you immediately die. The storyline is made in such a way that you basically unlock parts of the map by completing story quests. If you rush off to the top, you're going to die very quickly. You're not equipped with the gear to survive, and there are things that you need to do to make the map survivable. I'll put it that way. I don't want to give any spoilers, but just something to bear in mind. So there you go. That is getting started in Stalker GAMMA. I won't put in about the Great Swamps missions because they're so much more difficult now. I'll let you explore that on your own. If you want to see what they're like, go check out my playthroughs. I did do them on an earlier version still, so I did it on the version before this one, where it was very difficult, but not as difficult as it is now. So the difficulties just got harder and harder, and that's why I decided just to take the armor at the start. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this was helpful. As I say, it's a bit of an update, mainly because of a few changes, like how much more difficult he's made the game. But you can see how to change the difficulty there. You can see a few of the settings and things to make your life easier and set your own preferences. But I hope that was helpful for everyone. Please do like, share, subscribe. Check out the other Gamma videos on the channel. Check out my playthrough if you're stuck. Check out the guides if you're stuck. And obviously, if there's anything that I've not answered, do check out the official Gamma Discord. Grok has a great community there with a lot of people who will be happy to help and answer questions. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you all soon.